Hello, massage friends. It's Stephanie Rodriguez. I'm the founder and director of USOLMT. And today I wanted to come on and talk to you about moving from debate to dialogue in our massage community. This whole idea about moving from debate to dialogue is really about finding new ways to express our ideas, new ways to talk to each other that don't divide us even further. And it's something that's really important to me, and it's really important to USOLMT. This is the way forward in our profession. And so when we talk about debate and discussion actually position us as adversaries, even if that's not really our intent. And maybe the intent is to teach people something through debate or to teach people something through discussion. And kind of, in one of those roundabout ways, you'll see it in our massage groups. It happens quite often. You'll see a lot of debate. And then at the end of this long thread of debate, you have to make your own decision about how you feel based on the debate or the discussion that you see before you. And it can provide a teaching opportunity, but it also divides us. And so when we're positioned as adversaries, we can't really get anything done. We can't really accomplish the big goals that we've set out to accomplish because we're always focused on who's right and who's wrong. And that's not how we need to move forward in our profession. So a dialogue centers around community, and it centers around humanity. And practicing dialogue and our ability to have dialogue with each other can actually bring us together and bring us closer by helping us to understand other people's points of view in a way that is respectful and a way that helps us sometimes to even change our point of views based on mutual respect for each other, and actually seeking to understand what the other person is saying and why they might have the perspective that they do. Let's talk about some of the differences between debate, discussion, and dialogue. And I'm going to give you a bunch of concepts, and I'm going to tell you what it looks like when we debate, what it looks like when we're discussing, and what it looks like when we're dialoguing. So you can see the differences and what I'm talking about. So when you're debating, you are looking to succeed and you're looking to win that debate, right? When you're discussing something, you are presenting an idea. And when you are having dialogue, the whole idea of dialogue is to broaden our own perspective by listening to other people's ideas. So we're not seeking to win. We're not just presenting an idea. We are actually looking to expand our own line of thinking and our own perspective on something. Another thing is looking for weaknesses. That's what we do when we debate. We look for weaknesses in other people's arguments. When we're discussing, we are actually looking to persuade someone by our discussion of what we're saying. So we're looking to kind of persuade somebody, maybe change their idea or their opinion based on our discussion points. And when we are dialoguing is where we're looking for places of agreement. And so instead of in the back of your mind thinking, what is the weakness in this person's argument? Or instead of in the back of your mind thinking, how can I change this person's opinion? When we're dialoguing, we're listening for the things that we agree with. And there are a lot of things, even if we are having a debate with somebody, there's still a lot of things that I think that we can agree on that aren't these sources of contention in our industry or in our field. And then the next one is debate stresses disagreement. So just like dialogue is looking for places of agreement, debating is stressing the disagreement in the conversation. I know you've probably been in some of those massage groups where, you'll see just people going back and forth with their arguments about whatever it is. It could be anything. It happens all the time. And they just really, butt heads like this in the groups, trying to get their point across and trying to drive their points home like they're right. And then we have the discussion portion of this. So when we're discussing, a lot of times what we'll do is we'll try to enlist others who believe in our discussion, who feel the same way that we do, who have the same ideas that we do. And that's a great way to form groups and get people together. Anytime you have a lot of people with the same perspective, it's a great way to build community. But when we dialogue, when we change that just a little bit, we can actually express the paradox, the ambiguity, the things that we don't always agree on, but there are still things that we can. And we can allow more of that paradox, more of that uncertainty, more of that ambiguity into our dialogue, and be able to start understanding other people's perspectives. Now, debate focuses on being right. And when we're focused on being right, that's the only thing that we're really concerned about in a debate. We're concerned about our point is right, your point is wrong, and it doesn't work, right? When we are discussing something, we're sharing information. We're sharing information about why our point may be right. This is the whole idea of like, where did you get this information? Show me your sources, that type of thing, right? So that's where we can start to have a discussion about information, because now it's not just, if I'm having a debate, it's not just me focusing on how and why I'm right. Now I actually have something to back it up, and I've got some evidence, and now I can say, okay, this is the information. This is why I believe this is right. But when we are dialoguing, we're not really doing either one of those things. What we're doing is we're actually trying to bring out these areas of sort of like ambivalence where we're not really sure. And it's okay to just say, I'm not really sure. I don't really have a source. I don't have the information. This is just how I feel. It's okay to do that. I feel like in our community, sometimes we get the message that maybe it's not really okay to express that sort of ambivalence, vulnerability, and just say like, I'm not really sure. This is just what I think. And I feel like it's okay to do that. I want you to know that there's safety in that. You're not worried about somebody being like, no, I'm right, you're wrong. Like, you don't have to do that in our professional discussions. You can just say, this is what I think, and it's okay. The next point on here is that when we're debating, we are advocating for a single perspective. So let's say we're debating about something science related. Okay, cool. Well, we're going to debate about this. This is my perspective. And we are going to keep pushing that narrative. We're going to keep pushing that perspective until we win, right? So that's really what debate is all about. And, you see it in presidential debates. You might see it in, local election debates, which are really interesting to watch sometimes, where the candidates constantly just keep expressing their own platforms and how that differs from the other person's platform. And sometimes they get dirty. Sometimes they say things that are rude or hurtful to the other person who they're debating with. And they do that just sort of as like a cheap shot, but it's not great. So when we're discussing, we're basically working to solve a problem. We're working to solve our own problem, or we're working to solve someone else's problem. So we might discuss different ways that we can do that. And we might not always have a single perspective of how we can solve that problem. There may be multiple different avenues to solving that problem. And so that's how we present discussion when it comes to problem solving. But then when we're dialoguing, the difference is that we're allowing and we're actually inviting these differences of opinion into the conversation, and we're just listening, right? We're not listening to win. We're not listening to solve a problem. We're really simply just listening and allowing someone else to have a voice and having someone else be able to speak about however they feel and whatever they believe on the problem. The next thing would be judging others' viewpoints. When you're debating, we do see a lot of this in our communities where our viewpoints are judged sometimes pretty harshly, pretty critically, where it makes a person feel like they're inferior to another person, or that their perspective is invalid or it's distorted, right? When we do that, we totally invalidate what another person has to say. And I really think that we need to move away from that in our community, because it doesn't really help us solve problems. When we're discussing, we are looking to achieve our goals through our presentation, right? So we have some information, we want to discuss it, but what we want to do is we want to try to get the other people around us on our side. And that's how we present our discussion, and then we get them to join in, right? We want them to jump on the bandwagon. But when we are dialoguing, what we're doing is we're trying to actually challenge ourselves and challenge others and our preconceived notions of what the topic is about. Because every topic that comes up, especially when it's a divisive topic, everybody has an opinion. So by actually stepping back and listening, just to like that active listening that we learned in massage school, just to actively listen and take in the information and consider, like, how do I actually feel about this? Why do I feel as strongly convicted as I do about some things? And how can we bridge this divide between me and this other person who feels so much differently than I do, or has such a different outlook than I do, by seeking understanding? Now, when we go back to debate, we are listening just with a view of countering, right? We're listening for our counter argument. Somebody might say something, and then immediately we're going to go back to them and we're going to say, no, right? We're going to go back and do that and just counter everything that they say. That's what we do when we debate. When we are having a discussion, we're still listening for places of disagreement. And we're doing that because we want to address those places of disagreement, and then we want to try to get the other people on our side. So that's what we're doing when we're having that discussion. We're still listening for that disagreement. But when we are dialoguing, instead of doing those things, what we want to do is we want to explore thoughts. We just want to explore thoughts and feelings. It's much more simple. It takes a lot of the emotional aspect out of it when we can just kind of sit back and go, okay, well, why do you feel that way? Interesting. All right. So this is how I feel. Here's my perspective. Here's my background. This is probably where I got this from. And it helps us understand each other a lot better. And when we go back to debate, we are a lot of times debate really discount the validity of other people's feelings. Because when we're debating with conviction. We're doing it with feeling. Most of the time, a debate is not without emotion, especially a good debate. Because when you're having a good debate, you're really into it, right? This is something that you really care about, you really feel passionate about, and you can really get in there and have that argument. And, by the end of it, you just want to like take your mic, give it a little drop on the stage and walk away. But you're probably getting a little bit riled up while you're having that debate. It happens all the time. And so instead of discounting or invalidating other people's passion, other people's feelings, when we discuss, we try to avoid feelings. We don't We don't want to talk about feelings in our discussion. We actually don't want to get too passionate. We're really kind of trying to present facts. We're trying to get other people on our side. We're real careful about how we present ourselves and the things that we say to make sure that we get as many people as possible into the group. You see what I mean? Right? We can be real nice, real sweet, and bring people in that way. And so that happens quite often when trying to build up groups of supporters or group ideas and trying to get people to the same place in their head as we are in our head. And then when we talk about dialogue, though, this gets different. In dialogue, what we do is we validate the feelings and the experiences of other people. And we do that through understanding why they might feel the way that they do. In a debate, you rarely ever hear somebody ask, well, where does that come from? Well, why do you feel that way? Did something happen to make you feel this way? Have you always felt this way? Did something happen to change your perspective? You never hear those questions when we're having a debate. And you really don't hear them when we're having a discussion either. The only time that you ever hear those kind of questions is when you're actually having a real dialogue with another person. When we go back to debate, let's talk about relationships and how this affects them. So when we're debating, debate disregards relationships. You can see two people who are the best of friends. You see it in our government officials. Sometimes they'll get up to have a debate and you know that they're like hanging out on the weekends, right? But when they get on that stage, they're not friends. They disregard the relationship that they have. And depending on how fierce that debate ends up being, those people may walk away and get together tomorrow night to hang out for drinks, or they might not. They might not end up being friends at the end of that debate. It just really depends on how dirty that it gets. And a lot of people like to play dirty in debate. So when we do that, it doesn't really help our cause. It doesn't really help to bring us together. And so when we are discussing, the whole idea of having a discussion is to actually retain relationships that we already have, right? We're working with the people that we've already probably built a relationship with, or we're having a discussion with people who we believe are probably kind of already on our side, who want to hear a little bit more about what we have to say because they've already heard something that clicked with them. They've already heard something that probably made some sense and they were like, oh yeah, I want to hear more about this. And so the whole idea is to just retain those relationships when we're having discussions with other people. A dialogue is different because when we're dialoguing, we're actually building relationships. We're building bridges between two people who may be so different, may have such different ideas, such different backgrounds, different opinions, different upbringings, different political views, all kinds of things. And in that discussion of really kind of getting to the root of why we feel that way and where that comes from, that's where we can actually start to build a relationship from one human being to another, even if we do have differing ideas and opinions. And that is the best way to actually move forward with each other in our industry. It's where our compassion can be found for each other as human beings. And then the last point I want to bring up kind of about this discussion is using silence to gain advantage is part of debate. A lot of times when people are debating, you'll hear like the long pause, and it'll be right after a very pointed argument. And that actually helps to give people a second that are listening to the debate to start to form an opinion. Which side are they on? And the pause is used strategically in debate at points where they've made an argument and they need to give that a minute to just kind of settle down into people's minds. Discussion, when we're discussing, we kind of avoid silence We don't really like to have a lot of silence in our discussion. We just want to keep going with our points and, get our points across to other people. But then when we dialogue, we're talking about honoring silence. And it's okay if we have silence, because in the silence in our dialogue, we're considering someone else's thoughts and feelings and ideas and why we have such a conflicting viewpoint from them. And it's all part of dialogue. It's part of listening to actually understand and get to the root cause of what the problem is. Back in 2020, through the Omega Institute. Omega is a nonprofit. They're in New York City in the Hudson Valley, and they offer workshops, they do retreats, they do professional training, and they offer holistic studies. And I was looking at Omega Institute site sometime back in 2020, and I had seen that they were doing living room conversations. So I heard about them. I went over to their site, and living room conversations is such a great concept. They work to actually heal society by connecting people across divides, politics, gender, age, race, nationality, through guided conversations. And the conversations that they have been having are actually, they're proven. They are proven to build understanding and to actually transform communities. And I think that this is something that we need to do in our communities. So towards the end of 2020, my idea was to start having engagement opportunities. And in the living room conversations, they actually have structured guides that you can download from their website to have conversations with your friends or have conversations with your family members. These are all hosted on Zoom. Someone would be a host and bring people into the conversation, people that have differing ideas. And then the whole point and the idea is to have a dialogue where you're actually seeking to understand each other. And through these dialogues, they've helped families reconnect in the wake of total differences of opinion that cause huge divides in the family. Friends reconnect that may have had different political views, different views on COVID or anything that's come up, that people can actually help to mend and build these bridges. And I see this as an amazing tool that we could use in our massage community to help build bridges between practitioners who have different ideas and different opinions by really seeking to understand each other. Dialogue. Dialogue is really what we want to promote with USOLMT. Those respectful conversations where we can listen for that understanding and not really listen to win or to push our perspective onto other people. It really allows us to be more human. It allows us to be vulnerable with each other. It gives us a feeling of safety in our community. And it also gives us a way to explore ideas and build each other up and actually honor a wide variety of differing opinions. And while we're doing that, we can build on the places where we actually agree with each other. And it really is the way forward to the solutions that we seek in massage therapy. Look at and consider your outlook when interacting with members of our massage community. Debate definitely has its place, and it's really to showcase like a for or against argument and to help you make a decision. That's really what debate is all about. Not everyone is always right about everything, and even if we have this like deep conviction that we are right, we need to consider how that has damaged our communities since the pandemic. How has it divided us even further as a profession? And, when you look at it, like there was some destruction in the wake of the pandemic. There really was. And I feel like now we're just kind of like working to try to pick up the pieces and figure out how we move forward together, or do we move forward separately? And I don't think we should. We're all under the same umbrella of massage therapists, and we really should be moving together. So Discussion really also has its place. It's really good for getting feedback, sharing information, presenting our ideas. What it does is it helps to kind of take those convictions and take that passion sort of like down a notch, and it does sort of like water us down a little bit. We take the feelings and we take the emotions out of our discussions. And, in the beginning, that's really what I strive to do in my group, Massage Therapists Redefining the Future. When I started that group, one of the rules was to keep the hot button topics out of the group because I didn't want to have a lot of debate. I things were so heated and they were just so crazy during that time. Because remember, I started this during the lockdown, that I didn't want to do that. I really wanted to focus on getting feedback from our community on the programs that we were building, and also to really try to find out what people wanted and what people needed. Do we respond to this conflict that's going on all over the place? But I didn't want our space to be that conflict. I wanted to keep that conflict out. I just really wanted to have a space where we could actually have real conversations and not have hurtful things flying around in each other that would cause animosity or cause issues, because my whole purpose was to solicit solutions to problems, not to go over and over and over about the problems. Because from my perspective, that's where I saw that was our problem. Our problem was that we have been going over and over and over and over about these problems for so long that we never got to the solution. And, that worked. Our community really worked for us in the beginning to really solicit ideas and feedback and figure out what people wanted. And I got to meet so many people through the community. And it was wonderful to actually have that dialogue and really do what I do, where I'm asking a lot of questions and I'm seeking to understand other people's perspectives and implement their ideas for what they want to see for their own future. When we get into dialogue is really what I want to promote. It's what USOLMT promotes. It's those respectful conversations where we can listen for understanding and not just listen to win an argument, not just listen to push our ideas or our perspectives onto other people, but it allows us to actually be human. It allows us to be vulnerable. It allows us to consider the feelings of other people and to really give us safety in exploring ways that we can build each other up and ways that we can honor a wide variety of opinions and ideas, and really build on the places where we actually agree. And I think that's the way forward to the solutions that we seek in our industry. So consider moving from debate to dialogue in your business, in your groups, in your massage communities, and just watch the magic of building relationships happen. It's really wonderful. Just try it and see what happens. So you can learn more about living room conversations through the link in the description. I'll put that below. And also be sure to subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. You'll be able to get the USOLMT podcast here on our YouTube channel. We also put up things like leadership lessons, massage news and information, and all kinds of other good stuff. So go ahead and follow us, subscribe, and we'll talk to you next time.